A surprising amount of news, Tesla's new models. Yeah, all the week's news. When I made the thumbnail, there wasn't quite as much big stuff going on just yet. I'm Brian. Welcome to My Tesla Weekend. As a reminder, this is the full version that goes out on Fridays on the second channel, My Tesla Live, or it's the condensed version you're seeing on the main channel over the weekend. The full version is a lot of fun over here. Check it out. Super cool. Welcome to my newest Patreon, Rachel Lynn F. Thank you so much for your decision to support the channel. Tesla Shanghai sets a record in June with 78,906 vehicles sold. Wow. 78,906. That would be, if you just annualized it by month, 946,000 vehicles made. So even if you take it 5 days for down production, still at 946,000. So what did it do to the stock? Not a bad day. Let's look at the week. Not a bad week. Up 17%. And going back here, notice this big jump after hours. Wonder if anything happened there. Tesla stock heads higher in after hours after Musk ends Twitter deal. And Twitter stock is down. Which is not a surprise. It's not a intrinsically valuable thing. It's pretty interesting. You know, maybe it won't happen at all. It looks like the bot problem was never quite ironed out. They didn't provide the information that they were required to in a timely manner, and they kneecapped every effort to get a clear picture on just how many bots there are. But their shareholder notices in the past have said 10% of daily users, of daily active users. I find that number to be implausibly low because all the channels I follow, most of the people I follow on Twitter don't post every single day. What in the muffin trucking business is this? This is some funny muffin truck. You know what? I'm just going to get to it. The clowns over at JP Patches trimmed their price target for Tesla, saying shares could fall more than 40% on weaker deliveries. Yeah, the deliveries were weak. You know what that means? Nothing, because the whole country was shut down for like a month and a half. It means nothing. What it means is I need to get my money out of the clown house, because this is a joke, right? This is a joke. And by the way, every time my stock goes up, I get a call from them saying, we'd love to get you in to give your account a tune-up. A tune-up? You want me to take advice from you clowns? I don't think so. Any suggestions out there? Where should I move my IRA to? Tesla is still the world's largest electric car producer, despite what you are hearing. Yeah, well, no, BYD surpassed them. They sold more electrified vehicles. What? Oh, you mean hybrids. Some of which were plug-in. But if you take the hybrids out, they're still nowhere close to Tesla. I would like to see someone outproduce Tesla. I think that would be fantastic for everyone. There's still some big obstacles. They could use a supercharger or two, or their equivalent. But in China, anyone can use any charger, right? I mean, they all use the same plug, the CCS2. In Switzerland, Model 3 and Y are the best-selling cars through the first 6 months. Because remember, JP Patches, the clown house, said themselves, oh, weak deliveries, which they're trying to imply means flagging demand, which is not the case, or insurmountable production hiccups, not the case. And I know Switzerland is only one market, but through the first 6 months, that's quite impressive. That's quite impressive. Yeah, 2,200 Model 3s, 2,200 Model Ys, or 2,000 Model Ys, and then right on their heels, Skoda Octavia, Audi Q3, the Dacia Sandero. James May will be excited for that. The Peugeot 208. What is that? Isn't that the car Columbo drives? 208. No, that's a pretty good looking car. I'm sure it'll be great. What does Colombo drive? Peugeot 403. Yeah, that's if they electrify that, baby, I am in. Rugged as a tank and twice as heavy. Smokes a bit, but so does the car. Consumer Reports are saying an increasing number of Americans expressing interest in EV ownership. Yeah, 71% of Americans have expressed some level of interest in buying or leasing a pure electric car. 14% definitely, 22% seriously consider, and 35% might consider. Well, you got to get behind the wheel, my friend. Test drive, test drive. Even the runners-up are very compelling cars, I think, compared to gasoline alternatives. GM delivered over 7,000 plug-in vehicles in Q2. Mary's the leader. Hard to deny that. But 36% less than a year ago, and only 1.2% of GM's total volume. Now, a lot of times when you see these numbers, they go, no, it wasn't 7,000. It was way higher, because we're including the Wuling Mini, which is an absolutely dishonest way to count your numbers. A small $5,000 death trap that's only sold in one market. Tesla's Shanghai to halt production temporarily, and it isn't the previous reason. Yeah, they're going to shut it down. They're going to increase production capacity. And that's for the 3 line and the Y line. We're looking at a big jump in capacity coming out of Shanghai. That's kind of a big deal, because Shanghai, we already went through their current capacity. It's close to 1 million. And for that matter, Berlin carry out planned upgrades in preparation for future production of Y with the structural pack. The structural pack is exciting. Sandy Munro's team, Munro and Associates, began tearing down the Model Y with the structural battery pack, and they are very impressed. When they're impressed, I'm impressed. And the haters come in and say, well, that guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Yes, thank you for your valuable feedback, no-name person on YouTube with no account history that I can verify. They'll shut it down for a little bit and start integrating for 4680, which will increase production speed and capacity. So that big number we saw, it's only getting bigger. These quarters, well, again, the JP Maroons have said, well, it's, the production's down. This, companies, it just doesn't have it. Oh, shut your mouth. Calculating the positive impact of electric car adoption. So we calculate that 2 million EVs equates to 20,000 fewer deaths from climate change. In gas, there are particulates. There's carbon for sure, but there's other stuff too that's not good for you. But check this out. I just love this. To date, Tesla has sold about 2 million cars. Let that sink in for a minute. 2 million is all they've sold. They're not going to sell another 2 million this year, but next year they might. Next year they'll probably sell over 2 million. I mean, Shanghai alone in 2023 will sell more than 1 million. Fremont easily 500. Berlin and Texas coming online. And to date, they've only sold 2 million. I feel like I must have seen every single one of them on the road because, in my view, they're everywhere. So there's some assumptions in here. But the truth is, if Tesla had never existed or never sparked the electric car revolution, would we have millions of electric cars on the road today? It would have happened eventually, but it was 2 years before the Roadsters released that the death of the electric car was being lamented in the infamous documentary, Who Killed the Electric Car? It's a big deal. And this wasn't the most exciting article, but I had to stop on the 2 million part because it's a little over that now, but it's a big deal. Your Tesla now uses data from its cameras for improved seatbelt pre-tension before a crash. Yeah, Yeah, until now, your seatbelts would automatically tighten using pretensioners, but only when the airbags were deployed. The owner's manual, Tesla says this system reduces the slack in the seatbelt. It just pulls it tight so that you don't go as far before you go bonky bonk. That's a technical term. I don't expect the lay folks to understand it. Bonky bonk. This will look at an impending crash. It knows when it's about to go into the something. Unless it's a parked emergency vehicle. Got to work on that. But it will pretension your seatbelts. All this stuff is coming, man. They're already very safe cars. They just got a little bit safer. And I love how it says, this was added for free through an over-the-air software update. It's sad that they have to say this. Tesla Canada knows this, but they also know that people reading this may not know it. Maybe it's only on new cars. Maybe I have to go into the dealer to get a firmware update. Tesla's non-Tesla Supercharger pilot program to open in US later this year. That'd be cool. That could happen. All you need is an adapter and the ability to get your car into the spot with the charger in the right place. That could be a little more of a hassle. But that sounds like a you problem, not a me problem. Adding just a few feet to the charging cable would be very expensive when you multiply it by however many there are. When you were a kid, there were ideas you had about what the future was. Jetpacks, I don't know. But electric, self-driving cars, and for that matter, rockets that land themselves, those all make the list. The future is now. And yeah, you do have to supervise your FSD. But I've been in cars when it's been driven, as Jeff knows, as Larry knows. I haven't seen him around yet. It's a lot of fun, and it's interesting. It's fascinating. Tesla added 200 supercharger stations on mainland China in the first half. Now, 1,200. Now remember, in Shanghai, they have a factory that makes superchargers. They have a supercharger factory in Shanghai. I assume some of those end up exported as well, but that means they're made in Buffalo and also Shanghai. Munro and Associates tearing down the front of a made in Texas Model Y, and they found a lot of interesting changes. A lot of iteration has happened since the last Model Y they tore down. One thing they did note is that these little extensions here, if you can see what I'm pointing at, extend higher than they did on other models with a front casting. They did that so that it would better mate to all the existing parts. So in Texas, you may have seen a while back, there was a fresh batch of defective mega castings that were being scrapped. That's why. It was a new die. They were getting it dialed in for the new one. The speed of iteration is shocking and fantastic. Elon Musk suggests Tesla will make highly configurable Robovan for people in cargo. Okay, well, first of all, he didn't suggest it. He tweeted asking, is that something people would want? But I feel like that is the should I sell my shares to cover my tax bill kind of tweet, where he's tweeting it knowing the answer. Now, I would like to see, by the way, this is a fascinating render. I don't know. Maybe Tesla should make a highly configurable Robovan for people and cargo. Yes, maybe you should. But I think it could have a lot of parts in common with a Cybertruck. It has about the right footprint. Just put different wheels on it. Maybe get rid of the air suspension. Probably don't need that. Unless it's something like this, where the air suspension could allow you to lower to grade for easier access. I would like to see them finish the Semi, the Roadster, and the Cybertruck first. Those are overdue, my friend. The Semi and the Roadster debuted in December of 17. We need to just get those made, my friend. We need to finish a little bit of what's on our plate before we go back for seconds. But it would be great. I've seen other people say, well, the Sprinter market is already, 100,000, 200, 300,000 vehicles. Yeah, but Sprinters are only part of the picture. You've also got minivans. You've got the Toyota Sienna. It would dip into that pool. The Chrysler Pacifica, do they still make that? The Honda Odyssey? All cars that this could compete with. 25,000 PG&E and Tesla customers invited to form the world's largest distributed battery to support the electric grid reliability. I went over this, I think, last week. It's $2 a kilowatt hour. That's a good deal. That more than compensates you for the small reduction in usable life of your Powerwall. This will allow them to avoid purchasing megapacks, to avoid installing huge battery storage facilities. And if we do ever get vehicle to grid, that's a big battery. That's the equivalent of several Powerwalls. And to think your car could, you plug it in, you juice it up from 2 a.m. to 5 a.m., and then at 10 a.m. you start selling the power back because you haven't left for work yet. You leave home with 70, 65% state of charge and enough money to buy lunch. Because PG&E only charges, I want to say 14, 15 cents for you to buy the power, and then they'll buy it back for $2. Oh, doesn't seem sustainable. One of GM's Cruise AVs has been involved in an accident with injuries. I'm not bringing this up to knock Cruise. I'm bringing this up to say this is going to happen, and we're going to have to accept it. It could be that Cruise is still substantially safer than a human driver. The concern I saw early on in the days of potential FSD coming out was the day that someone gets hit or killed by him will be the end of the entire project industry-wide. Well, you remember Uber's test vehicle struck a pedestrian 3-4 years ago, resulting in a fatality. And that did not end the industry, though it definitely changed Uber's direction. They were hoping to move fast and break things, but unfortunately people are very breakable. Pedestrians do not have airbags. Cruise made headlines earlier this year when one of its driverless vehicles was pulled over by San Francisco PD and just drove away from the scene, accelerating through an intersection before coming to stop a few hundred feet down the road. It's a power play right there. You gotta let those humans know who's really in charge. First look, Waymo's new self-driving trucking hub opens in Lancaster. Built from the ground up, $10 million investment will bring hundreds of jobs. Will it? Will it? Or will it bring hundreds of robots? Do we really want the robots in our town, taking our parking spots, dating our women? The jobs it will bring will be very expensive jobs, will be very high-paying jobs. So that's a good thing, I suppose. But this is coming, man. This is all coming. President Widodo said that he's been in discussions with Tesla and Elon Musk to build a factory in Indonesia. And I've seen people say, well, why? Why would you even need a factory in Indonesia? Isn't China good enough? And the answer is you got to diversify the locations of your factories. If there was a factory in Indonesia in addition to China, the shutdown wouldn't have had as big of an effect on quarterly deliveries. But it could also be that they'll just be manufacturing batteries in this location because Indonesia has good mineral resources and they want to develop those domestically rather than just exporting them. I think that's a good thing. So we've got a few minutes here at the end to jump into my Q&A hole, because that doesn't sound horrible at all. Big thanks, as always, to my amazing Patreons who get early access, bonus content, all that good stuff. I keep making it look a little prettier and a little prettier. because you guys deserve it. Yeah, you guys deserve it. Well, there it is, and there you go. If you want to see the full, uncut, 30-ish minute version of this episode, head over to the second channel, link in the description, and subscribe over there if you want to catch these live each Friday at 7 p.m. Pacific, as well as the Fast Charging with B&B podcast, co-hosted with Bear from Bear's Workshop. So, what did I miss or misunderstand? Tell me in the comments, and stay tuned, stay juicy, and I can't wait to hear from you clever robots on the other side.